I didn't take off. I literally was like 1 second from pushing that throttle, and I looked over right at that time and I saw the windsock straight out. I was like, no, this isn't good. That storm just arrived. Oh, God, that was scary. Help! Come help! Grab the wing! All right, today is the day we're gonna fly this thing. I'm a little bit nervous, not gonna lie. Last time I flew this, things took a turn for the worse. Oh God! Here we go. I got it all set up. We got new gear on it. If you watched the last video, I put hydraulic mountain bike brakes on, and I got the safety cables just in case those bungees break. Hopefully they don't. I made a new cowling for this to help cool the engine, because that was one issue, if you remember in the last video, that my engine wasn't cooling. So hopefully that helps cool the engine better. And that's it. We're ready to fly this thing. Wish me luck. We're fired up. Okay. You guys fired up? Here we go. Dang. This one's gonna be a little different. Usually I like to really bring you guys along for all the tests and have you there right there with me when I'm doing the tests. I have done numerous tests and flights with this thing. Instead of showing you all those flights, I figured I'm just going to talk you through how they went and show you clips. As it speaks, I have an issue still with it and we cannot figure it out. And I'll get into that later.
It drops.
It drops. It does not make any sense. And maybe one of you guys can know what's wrong with the engine. Let's get to the very first flight, maiden flight after the landing gear has been put on. So for the first flight, we got the engine started. For this first flight, I did a high-speed taxi down the runway to make sure the landing gear would track straight and it would perform normal. It felt good, so I decided to pull it off the runway a few feet and fly it down and land it back on the runway at the end of the runway. And it went great. The landing gear performed excellent. The brakes work awesome. So that step is done and all good to go. Taxied back to go do another takeoff. And on this one, I went full throttle right off the get-go, and this airplane actually jumps off the ground surprisingly well. It did kind of stay in ground effect for a while before it actually took flight, but I was impressed with how quick it jumped off the ground. With this flight, I pulled up and I noticed the temp was getting to 430 on that front cylinder. So now I'm having the overheating issue, and I ended up landing back at the end of the runway. All went good, taxied back, and I talked to Jason and Justin about what could be the issue with the cooling.
What'd you think?
Oh, yeah, it's getting hot. It's like 450. And
you might just need the airspeed.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was wondering, if I like just...
I'll bet you aren't doing 40.
Dude, I'm seriously going... I look down, I'm going 50.
No way.
Yeah, that was like the most I saw was 50.
When you took off, it looked like you were picking it up off the ground. Like it.
I was trying to like get it up. I was like, come on, baby.
It did good though.
It did pretty good. So then the next flight was that evening, and the only thing I changed was I added a flap on the back of the exhaust of the cowling to help make a vacuum to maybe pull more air through the cylinders. And I thought maybe I wasn't getting enough airspeed either. I was more or less climbing. So this one, I decided to keep it low for this next flight. So the next flight, I got all my buddies there. Donnie helped start me up, and I go to take off, and it seems good. I'm flying around. I decided to actually go around the pattern, and it all went really good. The temps were still on the warm side, so it wasn't the greatest. And coming in for a landing, I saw the temps did drop quite a bit, down under 400 degrees. So I decided to just fly down the runway and do a go around. So doing this low pass, I was thinking maybe landing at the end of the runway, but decided, nah, I'll pull up and do another go around and fly the pattern again. Pulling up and entering into the down leg, my temp on the front cylinder got up to 480 degrees. So now I'm doing whatever I can, keeping the airspeed as high as I can, not climbing, I'm staying low. I'm seriously at treetop level. I'm looking down at the highway, seeing if there's a spot for me to land in between cars. At that point, I decided just to cut back to the airport midfield and land at the other end of the airport, where I took off. I taxied back, and all my friends are there, and we're trying to figure out what could cause it to be getting this warm. Oh, she's really hot.
How hot did it get?
Yeah, 480.
Damn.
She's smoking.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a tight engine.
Oh, God, that was scary.
No?
No. Well, I think it's because that prop isn't blasting. Yeah, there's nothing there. It's like it's blocking air.
Oh,
Well, yeah, your
this whole
blades
thing
don't
was
start
out.
till way out here.
Yeah, this whole thing needs to
I
be
mean,
out
look at this
here.
hub, how far out it is.
Yeah.
You're not pushing any air till you're getting way out here.
Yeah. You'd be better off with a wood prop.
Put a different prop on that thing.
Say hi.
The airbike is looking legit. I
looking
love
good,
your
huh?
seat.
Nice, huh?
Probably very comfy.
It actually is comfy. Yeah, I know. Everyone's like, "Does you just sit on that piece of board?" I'm like, yeah, actually, it's not bad. Okay, so tell you guys what's going on. This is the next idea on curing the engine cylinder head temp. This front cylinder here is getting hot, and we're thinking it's because this prop has this ginormous flat plate, and then the blade doesn't actually start making an airfoil and pushing air back till it is out here, which then doesn't push any air into this front scoop. I had this E-prop, and I wanted to wait to put this on just because it's super nice, and I want to do all the testing with this one. But since this isn't cooling, I'm thinking this one will actually cool, because you can tell that it's pushing air a lot closer compared to this. So yeah, and E-prop, by the way, I am so impressed. All carbon fiber. I actually got one for the Propeller, a 3-blade. Everything's carbon fiber. The hub, you don't have these big bolts. Half the weight of any prop on the market. I'm so impressed with them, and they actually, apparently from all the reviews I've read, you gain like 10 miles an hour in cruise. Your takeoff performance is better. All around, just a better prop. I'm not sure why. I think it's more of a European prop, and it hasn't really made it to the States. But I'm super excited. So we're gonna switch this out, and hopefully that cures the overheating issues. And we're gonna go test it.
Cool.
Going to weigh this warp drive and see how much weight we save with the E-prop. Jesus. 8.04 pounds. That's heavy, especially when you're talking about a ultralight. Zeroed out 2.84 pounds. Way lighter. I still got to add more pitch. We got up to 65, 67. I didn't want to push it, so let's add some more. Dang, I gotta add more pitch.
Just gonna
Wrapped out.
dynamite. So
That
I'm
was-
waiting for like
That was 6,600. 62 is supposed to be static, but I don't want to freaking repitch that thing. I gotta add more pitch. So I finally got the E-prop pitched right, and I went out to test it, and my temperatures did stay under 430 on the cylinder temp, which, by the way, normal operating range is 380 to 450 and 500 max. So I'm trying to stay under 450. So I was finally able to stay up and fly around for a good 15-20 minutes. During this, I noticed I couldn't get the RPMs past 6,200, which didn't make any sense as I was getting 6,500 RPMs on the ground. Usually you'll always gain a few hundred RPMs while flying full throttle, straight and level, and I was experiencing the opposite. As static thrust, I was getting 60, 65. And in the air, I could only get 61, 62. That doesn't make any sense. The other way around.
Well,
Air, and it's being able to cut its own air, so that's why it's able to spin up faster. Which is where you guys come in and could maybe give some thoughts on why it would be doing this. I'm gonna go through what we have tried so far. First, we thought maybe it was the air filter being a cylinder was causing a vacuum on the back side and limiting the airflow being sucked into the car. Because remember, it can withstand high RPMs on the ground, but when I move through the air is when RPMs drop. And it does peak at 6,500 right on takeoff, but once I start cruising, it drops down to 62 and I cannot get it above 6,200 RPMs. So for this next test, I took the air filter off completely, and during this test is when I actually almost lost the airplane to a freak thunderstorm. Come out! Come out! Come out! It's gonna be flying. Grab a wing, grab a wing, grab the wing. Grab the wing.
Oh,
God.
we were 10 seconds late on that one, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
From my truck, I couldn't even hear you. My bad.
Grab the tail, Donnie. Okay. Just that handle right there. Oh, yeah, right there's good. And luckily, I had Jason there and Donnie to save my ass, and we had to push it all the way back. So the next day, I ended up doing the test with the no air filter on, and it didn't do anything. It didn't change a thing. I even tried putting on like a Rotex cone filter, and still no luck at all. So then we had the idea that maybe it wasn't getting enough fuel, as the spark plugs did seem to be a bit on the lean side. So I went up to a larger size on the main jet. Bigger main jet, see if this works. So I did more flights with the larger main jet, and it didn't change a thing either. I still could not get above 6,200 RPMs. I even changed the mid-range needle also, and when I did that, it did seem like it held higher RPMs at takeoff before falling off to that 6,200 RPMs. So that kind of indicates it is a fuel issue. I have called numerous people. Nobody knows what it could be because it runs great when it's tied off to my car, but once I start moving through the air, some sort of magic happens and it just cannot get above 6,200 RPMs. I called this guy Rotex Rick. He's like a two-stroke guru. And he had never actually heard of this issue, ever. But he suspects that it could be possibly the fuel pump, and he recalls having less fuel pressure while flying versus doing static run-ups, which would indicate that it could be a fuel flow issue, and for whatever reason, the airplane, I guess, uses more fuel during flight than it does on the ground. I have no idea. So anyways, I'm going to end up doing the pump change, and then also I'm gonna try ramming air into the fuel tank to try and get more fuel pressure. Maybe that will help, I don't know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Help me figure out the air bike so we can go fly this, because I'm sick of working on it and I'd like to just go fly it around. We'll see you guys on the next video, and yeah, hopefully we get this going. See ya. Bye. I didn't take off. I literally was like 1 second from pushing that throttle, and I looked over right at that time and I saw the windsock straight out. I was like, no, this isn't good. That storm just arrived. And we got her back. Well, it's not back yet. We're stuck here behind this hangar. So that was bonkers. I was freaking out.
Yeah, you were.
I was like, this is not good. I'm gonna be flying any second. And I shut the engine off. I don't know why I did that. I was almost like, shit, should I get back out and try to start it in case I need to like fly it? Because I was waiting for you to come. I was like, Jason, it's like, what do I do?
I saw you over there flailing around doing the funky chicken.